What is up, YouTube? This is T1 coming at you with another video, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Joker Folie À Deux, a musical sequel to Todd Phillips' 2019 film Joker, and the lowest rated comic book movie ever on CinemaScore. Now, cards on the table, the first film was one of the most polarizing movies released in my lifetime, and when I first saw it, I was pretty tepid. But I've warmed to the movie a lot in the past couple years, maybe because in the intervening time I've also become poor and mentally ill. But this movie, Folie à Deux, it's kind of hard to defend. It's not that it makes really crazy choices, more that it seems like 40 or so minutes of story stretched to its absolute breaking point. But to my surprise, maybe even to my disbelief, I kind of liked it, and not in a oh my god, what a shit show, so bad it's good kind of way. More in a I genuinely connected with the characters and themes of this movie, maybe more so than the previous one, even though it's not objectively better in any real way. In the end of that film, Arthur was captured, yes, but he still mostly wins in his own twisted way. He finally got what he always wanted, an audience, people who care about him and what he has to say. This film, from beginning to end, is his comeuppance. I mean, they might as well rename this Passion of the Clown. I don't think there's one scene where he isn't beaten or insulted or tortured in some other more horrifying way. And at every turn, it hammers home what a broken and pathetic person he is. Joaquin Phoenix goes over the top in moments because how can you not? But he really is the glue that holds this whole thing together. The guy is at once reprehensible, but also, in a way, pitiable. And it's a fascinating and grim place to take the character when that audience he wanted so bad finally turns on him. Maybe it's a little too wink at the audience for some people, but the idea that Joker started something that spiraled out of control, and now even the man who created the persona is powerless against it, and more importantly, disgusted with how it's been co opted, kind of an interesting way to go, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, like the first movie, it's as deep as a kiddie pool, but it's personal enough to be worth digging into. I gotta say, I wish we got more of this version of Harley, who admittedly is a character we've seen before. She's essentially a Manson girl in grease paint, but Gaga performs the hell out of it, as she's done in every movie she's been in, if I'm being honest. And I also want to shout out Brendan Gleeson, playing perhaps his most terrifying role in abusive Arkham guard Jackie. There is a kind of Matrix Resurrections level of up its own ass about its predecessor that wore pretty thin after a while, particularly in the second half, the trial portion of the movie. The film essentially becomes a group of returning actors describing what happened last time. And aside from an admittedly pretty harrowing scene involving the character of Gary from the first movie, they just weren't that interesting. But let's talk about the most heavily touted element that's been added this time, the song sequences. Honestly, the fact that this was a musical at all is one of the only reasons I even bothered to see it, but disappointingly, they feel a lot like filler. Almost all of them could be cut and the movie wouldn't suffer for it. I know advancing the plot isn't always the main concern of a song sequence, but they're not even impressive as spectacle goes. They're not well choreographed, the singing is nothing to write home about, even from Gaga, and it just kind of feels like Todd Phillips didn't really have a clear plan for what he wanted. And like the courtroom stuff, it mostly came off as boring. I mean, putting a Batman villain on trial does sound pretty cool, but they do nothing with it. Finally, there's the ending. There's a good chance you've had it spoiled for you already, but on the off chance you haven't, I'll avoid going into specifics. To many people, where this film ends is a symbol of incompetent sequels, of misunderstanding what makes your predecessor successful, and even of everything wrong with modern Hollywood sensibilities. And guys, I fucking loved it. I really couldn't imagine a more fitting end to this character, and like I said, it goes with the theme of this movie, which is consequences. Joker Folie à Deux is as messy and incoherent as its lead characters, but even with a long, rambling setup, it does have a hell of a punchline. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. This is T Quint1 signing out.